This is the A to Z podcast. Expert insights on leadership, business, real estate, investing, and growth.
As a leadership development guy and a business broker, my days sometimes are spent in asking some questions to help startup founders, small businesses, and also self-employed professionals to, to know where they are, to give them some clarities. And some of the questions that I ask include, but not limited to, first of all, I ask, do you plan to scale this business? Some people, they're clear, they don't want to scale. Part of the reason, this is a lifestyle business. They don't plan to scale it. Other people, they're kind of like tentative. I'm not sure. Maybe I may scale it, and so on. Some people they go and give you details. Sometimes I mention something. Oh, I know that. Oh, I read about that, which means they already decided to scale and they know the different vehicles they could use to scale. Today, if you are the latter, which is you already know the different vehicles that are available for you to scale, and if you are on the journey to scale your company, you don't need this session. But if you have never thought about it, you thought about it, but you didn't go through it, and you haven't chosen the different scaling vehicles, or you're hesitant, this session is for you. I want to give you some vehicles. You can choose the ones that are going to work with you. If you stay until the end, I have one creative ways to scale. Very few founders use that. So stay tuned and you're going to get that creative ways to scale. The first vehicle is yourself. I have seen founders who scaled because they first scaled with it. They have outgrown where they are, and there is no other option for them except to scale. Why? They have grown with it. What do? They read books, they attend events, they network, they are exposed to different opportunities. And from those learning opportunities, exposures, reading of books, and meeting people who have already scaled, they are scaled with it. Their mindset is scaled, their perspectives are scaled, and therefore they are scalable. You may meet a founder who is not scalable. They don't believe in learning. They don't believe in networking with other founders. They don't think that they could scale themselves. If you look at, especially if you are an immigrant like myself, if you look at immigrant business owners in their home countries, they're very creative and they're succeeding. One of the reasons is because they are exposed to things that could be done back home in their countries. When they go back, they see a gap, they see a problem, they see a challenge, and they knew somewhere some people fixed those challenges and problems because they're exposed, because they outgrown themselves. When they go back home, they become very successful in creating a scaling business. Therefore, if you want to scale, why don't you start with yourself? The good thing about self is because it's within your control. What's beautiful about it is because whatever scaling you are experiencing in your mindset, in your competency, in your character and personality is transferable. Transferable at home, transferable in the neighborhood, transferable if you decide to have another business. Now you're better in your outlooks and your relationships are better. You have good relationships at home, everywhere. Now you are very competent, and therefore people want you to join their team, want you to be a partner because you scaled within. People now trust you for their money. People trust you for your opinion. You see what I mean? And therefore, if you want to scale, why don't you start with yourself? Scale yourself. You can read books, you can get coaches, you can get consultants. You can attend events. You can subscribe for some programs. Grow, grow, grow. When you grow, it's evident that the business must grow. It becomes too little for you. You could see how you could be able to scale it. And because you have grown, you know which vehicles you should use. You have already connections. You already have the ability to scale it. But if you don't grow, if you don't scale first yourself, even if you have capital, even if you get investors, great team members, product and services, you may not be able to scale it. Why? Because you become the weak link for that company to scale. The second area, the second vehicle that you can use to scale is other people. Now, I know a lot of founders, when they think about other people, they think about bringing team members, maybe some founders, but I think the scope should be bigger than that. I want you to think about, okay, how can I use other people to scale in a good way, in a win-win way? And therefore, you're not just thinking bringing a co-founder. That's great. They may come and complement you. If you are great in marketing and sales, you need someone who's good in technical things and operational things. If you're good in technical things, operational things, you need someone who's good in branding, marketing, and sales. More than a co-founder, you want to bring a team. Remember, you cannot scale. You cannot shoulder the responsibility of scaling by yourself. You need people within your team, but you can expand that. You can scale by finding joint ventures, partners, sponsors, investors, by bringing people into your board, into your advisory board. Advisory board, you may give them sweat equity. For the board of directors, let them come with their capital. They have a voice within the board, and you give them share. You become creative to bring people around you so that you could be able to scale using people. This is one of the most stable and scalable vehicle. And even if you use other vehicles, scalable vehicles, you still need this one. The key thing here is, do you have the mentality that believes that you are too insignificant, too little to have impact by yourself? If you don't have the mentality of like you need people, at least you have the mentality that this is not done, the scaling cannot be done without the support of other people, you don't reach out. And also when you reach out, how do you reach out? I've seen people, they just transactional. They just see what they benefit from you. They don't make the deal no-brainer. Sometimes some people come up to me, and every time they talk to me, they talk about their deals, what they're going to benefit from it. And sometimes I wish, at the back of my mind, I wish they also put themselves in my place. They should have asked before they come to me, what is in it for him? Some people come with huge cause. This is a great cause for our country, for our community, and then they pitch you. But you're wondering, yeah, what I'm doing is also impactful. What I'm doing also going to have impact at community, national, even global level. Should I drop everything what I do and come and support you? Yeah, maybe interns would do that. Just fresh college graduates would do that. But if you are attracting A players, you have to think what is in it for them. And you have to make the relationship win-win. Some people want you to volunteer, come join our board, come be advisor. And then they don't ask this question. What is in it for this person that I'm attracting to the board, to the advisory? Because these are very busy people. They have other opportunities. They have their own plate, which is full. Why should they come to support you? That's your job. You have to think. If you want to scale using people, you have to find A players, high performers. And these A players and high performers, they're very busy. Their plate is full. And they have so many opportunity presented to them. And you have to make it's a no-brainer deal so that they join your cause. That requires your ability, first of all, to understand the needs of other people, to have these win-win mentality. Most importantly, the ability to create and form coalition and partnership. Even if people come, if you don't know how to deal with partnerships with high performers, with A players, you won't succeed. Which means, yes, scale with people, but first work on yourself, scale on yourself to handle A players. The billionaires, the successful leaders that we see in different industries, they have this thick skin. That thick skin is they can handle egotistical people, high performers, and A players. They don't have these ego. They bring people around them who don't just come to just receive orders. They have their own attitude, they have their own perspectives, they have their own priorities, and you have to know that. Ask people, successful people, they will tell you, I'm surrounded by people who are smarter than me. And therefore, even if you're not smart, even if you're not that high performer, if you know how to attract and retain high performers, you have a chance to use people to scale. The third is geography. I don't spend a lot of time. For example, you have a business, they say here in the United States, you want to create a branch, they say in another country, in another continent, or you have a business in one city, you want to scale it by opening different by opening it in different locations. And of course, you could use another avenue, combining this with franchise. You can create franchise. You have one location here, you can scale it by opening the business with the same brand in different locations. Geography, however, it's gonna take you, at least the products and the services that you sell are not capital intensive. You have to take into account that it requires to have huge capital if you want to scale geographically. But if you use franchise, the capital also comes from the franchisees. And this is one option you could be able to scale. The third is product and services. The fourth, product and services. You already have products and services. You may decide, you know what, I want to create more products. Let's say the products that you have, they are low-end products. They are sold $10, $5, $15, $20. Why not create products that are $100? You may have services for, let's say, $100 per hour or something. Why don't you create something for $1,000, for $10,000, or $100,000? By creating these products and services, what you're doing is you are scaling, which means you are choosing this vehicle rather than going out and getting loan or raising capital and sharing your portfolio, or by hiring more people. You may decide, you know what, we're going to create a couple of products and services, high-end products and services, and we scale that way. You can also use technology as a vehicle to scale. For example, right now, you don't use some intense scalable technology to advance your organization. You may decide, you know what, we're going to invest on technology. Maybe you develop your own technology, or maybe you rent a technology from other vendors. The idea is, if we are doing this by ourselves, maybe without robust technology, we could do this 10 times or even 100 times. We could scale using some technologies. These technologies could be all in one, or maybe just one sector. Maybe you want to focus on CRM and you want to scale that way to bring more people, to bring more leads and scale. Or it could be the platform that's going to help you streamline your systems and processes, and that way it becomes very easy for you to scale. Of course, you can also invent technology specific to you, and you have the right for that technology. Actually, you sell that technology or rent that technology to other companies. Now you are scaling using technology, which means you already have the content or the property, the intellectual property, but it was not digitalized. You may decide, you know what, I want to digitalize this, I want to scale it, and you could do that. I keep on continuing, but I want to say a few things because my time is running out. I will add a couple of more vehicles. If you want to know all the vehicles that you need to scale, read my book, Scale to Last. And also, we coach and we have a consulting service where we help founders to discover the different scaling vehicles and which one is right. There is an audit where you could also take that audit. It's free. You can take that audit and see where you are in terms of scaling and what you should do to go to the next level. Let me give you a couple of vehicles and I'll finish. Another popular, common vehicle is capital. When it comes to capital, sometimes founders, they just focus on just go to these conventional lenders, just go there and just get some money. Just borrow money. But there are many ways you can raise capital to scale your company. One would be to create debt, which basically means you're looking for creditors, you get the debt, and you pay certain percentage interest every month for the creditor. These creditors could be conventional, private, there are different lenders out there. So that will be one instrument that you could use to scale your company using capital. Another would be equity, which means you give some portion of your equity by creating shares. You sell shares. For example, if you want to go public like SpaceX did, if that's your vehicle to scale, one of the ways you scale that is you start to give shares, starting from angel investors and then venture capitalists, Series A, B, C, and then once you are ready using investment bankers, you could be able to go public by selling shares. That way you get capital, you use that capital to do certain things to further scale that company. SpaceX, for example, they raise capital by going public, getting some capital. They are already investing that. Actually, they are looking for more capital through debt and another offering, by giving another offering, and so on and so forth. This is one way, using your equity by giving people shares so that they own the company based on the share that they have. Another way you can raise capital would be by, for example, partnering. There are people who are willing to give the capital if you bring them and give them some kind of serious involvement with you, which means they're going to have a say, they're going to involve in the decision making, and they cover the capital part. You do the others, and you share the profit together. The other way you can raise capital would be, by the way, when it comes to using debts, sometimes these corporate debts, they are more like risky for a lot of people. People prefer to buy debt from the government, treasury note, treasury bond, or even municipality bonds and so on. But if you want to use debt as an instrument to raise capital, you have to figure out how to compete with these other debts. One could be to use your collaterals. If it is a secured debt, people may take your bond, or maybe you can use your equipments and so on. The more collateral there is, the more secure that debt, so that people take risk and buy your debt. That said, there are many ways you could raise capital. These are the main avenues that you could use, debt and equity, and also you could be able to go out and get a loan from conventional banks or even from SBA. SBA has also some some funds that you could get from SBA, Small Business Administration. And also there are individual lenders. Their rates may be a little bit higher. They may also give you that opportunity to raise capital. There are many other ways you can raise capital. Because of time, I have to stop it, but I promised one creative ways that you could use to scale. Very, very few founders use this scaling vehicle, and I'm gonna share with you. This is this. For example, you have a company. It's worth $5 million. You want to scale it $10 million, $20 million. You spend like 10 years, maybe five years to get here. One way is to use one of the vehicles that I mentioned, or a combination of these vehicles, and to scale this company from $5 million to $10 million to $30 million. You could do that. But some founders, they would say, you know what, based on the mindset, experience, exposure that I had, I opened that company 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and I evolved. Why should I get stuck with this company? Why should I scale slowly? Let me just sell it, get the proceedings. Maybe I can have a fresh start. That way I can quickly buy a company using the proceeding that I got, some loan from other lenders, and then I can buy a $10 million or raise capital, buy $20 million company, and then scale that to $40 million, $100 million. You see what I mean? You have a $5 million company. You could just invest on it and scale it, take it to 10. You could do that. But if you think like, this is not really that much faster scaling company, I opened it a long time ago, I don't see much potential here. Why should I get stuck here? Let me sell it and start fresh. Of course, some people who buy your company, they may make you sign non-compete at least for three years, not to compete with them, at least in certain geography. So you can get out of that geography, or you start a totally different company in a non-competing industry. Doesn't matter. But there are founders who pick this one and scale like that. That's why you see, once someone becomes a millionaire, sell one company or exit from that company, you see them after that, they're playing $1 billion game. Why? Because they have now the experience. In the past, when they formed that first company, they didn't have the vision, they didn't have the capability, the exposure, the network, and they didn't know the different vehicles that they have. Now they're very creative. They sell this, raise capital a little bit more. Why not start with $20 million company than taking this one to 20 millions in the next 5 years. I hope one of these vehicles may be appropriate for your business to use it in a scale. Always remember, this is educational. I'm not suggesting anything. If you come to us, we have an audit. You could take that audit. We know where you are. Based on that information, we may give you some next steps on how to scale for free, for limited time, and for qualified people who take that audit. You'll find that in the description. But you should not always work with us. Find somebody who could be able to help you brainstorm, gain clarity to choose the right scaling vehicle. Because scaling gonna take you a couple of years. And selecting the scaling vehicles should start today. Actually, yesterday. If not yesterday, today. Because it takes you time. Not only the scaling, you should also think about the exit strategies. While you are scaling, okay, how do you want to exit? These questions should be answered ahead of time. Even if you don't plan to scale, even if you don't plan to exit, it's good to have this conversation. And if you want to have this kind of non-binding, no attached string conversation, please reach out. I would love to have that conversation with you. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to see you with another video. Bye-bye.